Hi everybody, it's Mike Newman. It's Sunday night with ILXCTF. It's Halloween. It's Rocktober 31st. And tomorrow we go into roll November here. Woochie, woochie. Yeah, so we just went through sectional Saturday, and boy was it fun. I think the one thing that I mentioned in the Hinsdale Central recap is that mud can be the biggest equalizer, and we saw some surprises. I was shocked with some of the results. I was going through writing the recap, and what I usually do is when I'm writing the recaps, the weekend recaps, I don't look at the results until the moment when I'm writing. So I knew on some of the results on Saturday. I was at Hinsdale. We'll talk about Hinsdale, but I looked at it. I'm like, whoa. And then looking at a team result, I'm like, whoa. But so I'll explain the inner depth of the whoa in this show. But a lot happened. So I think the one thing that we can do is let's talk about each of the classes, and we can just I'm sans notes again. I'm not using any notes. I've been reading too much. I've been doing so much stuff. I'm getting ready to I'm ready to go. I'm ready for state on Friday, Saturday. It's a good weekend. It's a happy weekend. It should be a time of celebration, time for celebrating your season. So let's look at it that way. So I was at Hinsdale, and obviously you've seen the videos. I hope you've seen the videos, the interviews and all of that. Very interesting racing. And there were a lot of newcomers that hadn't been to a cross-country meet before, because they were asking, right by the starting line, well, where do these runners start? Right over there. Another gentleman, he was a nice guy, but he goes, yeah, I've heard about that Dan Iverson. He's a smart coach. And I've heard, have you heard of this, that legendary York coach? I'm like, yeah, I've kind of heard of him. Yeah, Chuck Newton was such a great coach. And I'm like, yes, Mr. Newton was a great coach. So, we're going through that, and then dealing with a lot of the feedback that I was getting about assignments and everything else. And we're not going to talk about that. Let's just talk about the races. So, Hinsdale, Welland goes out hard. And here again, mud is the big equalizer. She said at 2 miles she was feeling it because she went out hard, and Sophia McInerney made a move on her and was getting real close until Welland said, no, this isn't going to happen. I'm going to kick for the win. And she did. Hinsdale Central, McInerney looked great. McCabe looked good for Hinsdale Central. She got there. Welland looked great winning it. So you have Hinsdale Central beating Naperville North. And it's a comeback. Naperville North had Lucy Westlake. She didn't race last week. They did not have one of their top 5 runners, Marissa Magna. And they're hoping she's back next week. I hope she's back next week. But then you had, it was 6 of the 7 schools that we thought, you have 8 in the top 14 schools in the state were ranked, and they were in that sectional. So Lyons Township got 11th. They had 2 illnesses, one the night before, and the day of the meet they weren't feeling good. I guess one of them dropped out, and so Lyons got 11th. And what can you do about that? It kind of stinks that you don't have everybody at full steam. So you've got 7 real good teams, because Downers Grove North is a great team also on the girls' side. On the boys' side at Hinsdale, really interesting. Just I kind of like to watch how teams run and everything else. It gives me an idea. And I've seen Sandberg run a couple of times this year. Okay, hold on. This is my life. Okay. Where was I? So you get a chance. I've seen Oswego run. I saw Oswego run. This was the 4th time I got to see Oswego run. I've seen Hinsdale and Downers Grove North run now. I mean, I've seen a lot of these teams, the top teams, run 3 or 4 times, and that's kind of you kind of get an idea how they race and everything else. And so Sandberg went out and they had the race won, and they could drop back a little bit because they were in control up front. They had 4 runners in the first 9 when they passed me at about 1.5 miles. When they came in, they had 4 runners in the top 19. And teams got closer. I mean, Downers Grove North is a team to really watch for. They have Kyle McNally, who had a good track season last year, and he's been injured. And he came back and he was their 5th runner. So what does he do next week? Downers Grove North is one of those teams I'd keep an eye on. I'd keep an eye on Sandberg. I'd keep an eye on Hinsdale Central. I'd keep an eye on Oswego in those races. And we had 6 out of the 7. Again, Wabanzi Valley, I feel real bad for them. Have 2 guys, other top guys, that were injured, and one of them collapsed with 300 meters to go. He finished, but that hurt them. They were 9th. And so instead of Wabanzi Valley going in, you have Downers Grove South, who ran a real good race. Timmy Newman, hello Newman, ran a great race. I mean, he stayed within touch all the way, and then when Watke, Mr. Kick, goes, that was about it. So, interesting meet. I love Catherine Legge. I got there early. I got a chance to talk to a lot of people. Got a chance to talk to Richie Brooks, to Mike Durkin. I always like going back and talking to people that have done it before me. And you get a different view of things and everything else. I like to talk to coaches too. Talked a lot to Mark McCabe, Hinsdale Central coach. So anything's going to happen in that. At Lake Park, York wins with without their number 1 runner, Ethan Summer. Garrett Schwann was their number 1 runner in the regionals, but Summer's been their number 1 runner most of the year. Had a little bit of an injury, so getting on that muddy horse at Lake Park, it's not worth it. And York was going to qualify regardless. I mean, geez, there were only 4 teams that qualified, 4 ranked teams there. York qualified, St. Charles East qualified, Wheaton North qualified, Wheaton Warrenville South qualified. And then you had DeKalb. DeKalb's been running good as of late. And Maine South was the surprise. I had them ranked. I won't tell. I'll put it in the preview where I had them ranked, and they'll be pissed at me. Everybody's pissed at me. And then Hampshire qualified also. So you had a lot going on there. Michael Wilson waited till the final half mile to go. He won by 14 seconds over Riley Newport. The girls' race, York. I think you're going to have about 4 or 5 teams that are going to be chasing after York, or chasing after 2nd place. Unless York falls at the start of the race at Detweiler and they don't call the race back, I don't see anybody beating them right now. Not because I'm a former York runner or anything like that. I mean, when you put 6 runners in the top 10 and they ran a 40-second split again, what can you do with that? So we had Glenbard West ran a great race. I had them ranked in the top 10. They deserve to be ranked in the top 10. They're a good team. But they had a nice little split from 2 to 5. Allman up there fighting the battles, getting the low numbers. And then they had a nice pack there. And then St. Charles East, St. Charles North. Jeez, I'm wigging out. Maine South. Huntley ran a great race. And Wheaton Warrenville South didn't have their best race of the year, but they got 7th. Wheaton Warrenville South has 3 freshmen in their top 7. So you're going to see those going through. Hoffman Estates. And then in the girls' individual race, Bria Bennis and Grace Shager of Glenbard North were together for most of the race. Shager broke away for the win. So I'm glad that Grace is running good now. She had a little bit of a problem with her foot, but she's raring to go. She's ready to go for state. Hoffman Estates, Prospect, nice little pack, winning it. No surprise there. The individual race, Johnston and Negovicic were together with about a half mile to go, and Negovicic slipped, and that was it. And so it was a 9-second win for Johnston this time. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the course is going to be in great shape. Detweiler the Park District of Peoria will have it ready to go. And you don't have anybody running on it this week, and it's going to be cold, and it's going to be sunny. That course is going to dry out, and it's going to be super. On the boys' side, Neutral 93-99 over Barrington. That surprised me a little bit. That's one of those. I saw those results at the park when I was at Captain Legge, and Noah Lawrence looked at me. I won't say what Noah said, but we're kind of surprised with that. So Neutral is packed, kind of split up a little bit. Cahill's a little bit closer to Nick Falk. Luke Wiley won the individual race. Warren makes it ahead of Loyola Academy. So that was a little bit of a surprise, not much of a surprise, because both teams were ranked close to each other. I'm doing this with my hands. Okay. At Quincy, Bob Mays Park, we said the mud was the great equalizer. So who on their form chart, and Plainfield South people you don't count, who had Cameron Vigor winning that race with Ryan Watts and Marcellus Mines in that race? It was 15:32. So times are slow, but the course was muddy. When you have 2 days of rain like we had, what do you expect? So Plainfield South winning it looked pretty good. And then Plainfield Central qualified for the first time. Happy for them. In the girls' side, Yorkville's getting a little bit closer to Minooka. I think 5 points, 55-61, something like that. Yorkville slowly moving up. Minooka ran good, but Yorkville's running a little bit better. And so Lincoln Way West qualified. Between Lincoln Way East was ranked, and they didn't make it in, so I don't know what happened with them. So that's it for 3A. Really interesting for 3A individual-wise, because I think anything's going to happen. It's going to be who makes those moves, who's going to make the strategical moves, because you have 7, 8, 9 runners that could win this race. And when we're talking about teams, you have a number of teams. You have four teams at least from Hinsdale that could win it. You have York that could win it. You have New Trier. So you have I'd say 7, 8, 9, 10 teams that can trophy. So, and we've never seen anything like that. I'm trying to think. There was one year, 1986, where St. Charles East was supposed to have the super team, and they got second or third or something like that. They got 10th the next year. They were the number 1 team in the state. They got 10th. And that was classy. But that year, Rockford, Guilford, and St. Charles at the time were supposed to win the thing, and ended up York winning it by about 5 points. It was so close. So this is one of those races, anything can happen. I think there are 5 teams that are going to be battling for 2 trophies, because like I said, don't see York doing that. I'm at 14 minutes already. This is going to go long. So let's go to 2A. Fenton, Mudfest. Lollapalooza with mud. The 7 teams that I thought would qualify in the boys' side did. And Fenwick looks pretty good. Fenwick looks pretty good. Rill was running up there with McKiltrop. McKiltrop is one of the most improved runners this year in the state from Fenwick. Only a sophomore, but boy, is he just running great right now. So you had the teams. You had Canelan second. You had Riverside Brookfield up there. You had the 7 teams that we had ranked in the top 13. Mather making it, Caton making it. Glad that they both made it. So individually, Jake Phillips won the race 1605, 1606. There were some people that were emailing me, that was a 5K course. You Illinois runners really stink. And I'm like, oh, here, guess which finger I'm holding up right now. It was muddy. You're going to have slow times. It was a competition. So looking at splits and everything else, you looked at them like, oh, this team ran good. This team ran pretty good. This team, I don't know. So on the girls' side, Lanton School, Nazareth Academy, and St. Ignatius were your top three teams. Lanton won with a 1-2 finish from Perec and Kotler. What a surprise there. So let's see how Lanton correlates with everybody else in the state. I like to do a ranking thing. One more time, I'm going to do that tonight as I'm getting ready, preparation for writing previews and everything else. But I go through and rank the teams one more time, look at the splits. I'm done, and I put it aside, and then I start writing. At Metamora, and we talked to Delaney Fitzgerald from Normal University after she won at Peoria, the 1A2A race, and she's like, "Oh yeah, this is a new thing for me. In the races before, people have been surrounding me." So she's taken this new thing and it's blossomed like a flower. Where she wins the individual sectional title, she's been running great of late, and she won it. Normal University put 4 in the first 21, 3 in the first 6, 4 in the first 21, but their 5th runner was too far back, and that opened the door for Dunlop. Dunlop had 5 in the first 21, 5 in the first 22, something like that, 5 in the first 30, but that was more than enough to they won by about 15, 16 points. On the boys' side, Wilson Georges. Now, Metamora, they ran it at the Metamora sectional. They ran at Metamora. Duh. The parking lot was the parking where they park in the grounds at Black Partridge Park. That was too wet. You would have been spinning your tires trying to get out of there. So they had to park in the streets. They waited to run until late afternoon so that the course could drain. And there were some good times. I mean, Wilson George is running 15:01. That's not close to the course record, but he won by about 25 seconds. So he goes into state next week as one of those guys to watch up front. Morton looked really good. Won easily. The team that I'm really happy that made it was Bartonville Limestone. Because here's Wilson George. All along he's running as an individual. He would have his teammates surrounding him before the state meets or the big meets. He's got his teammates with him. They have another guy, Reese Dusek, that's right, who got 4th in that race. He could be All-State too. So Bartonville Limestone could end up with 2 All-State runners, and we'll see how they do in the team race. So got that. 2 more sections. Right? Oh yeah, let's talk about Woodstock North. I think on the girls' side, it is so, on the 2A girls' side, wide open. You had Crystal Lake South winning it. You had Prairie Ridge barely making it, but they hadn't had Rachel Sukup in the lineup for the last few weeks. She got 7th in the race on Saturday. And so Prairie Ridge, the last 2 times they've been at Detweiler, they haven't run a great sectional race, but they run great at state. So let's see what happens with them. I'll be keeping my eye on them. The Crystal Lake South, Vernon Hills, Lake Forest didn't make it out, which was kind of a surprise. Lakes made it in. Northside was the last team in. Elia Tomthat won the individual race over Hadley Ferrero of Crystal Lake Central, and Mary Grace Hegberg got 3rd. So here again, mud is the equalizer. She got 3rd. We thought she was going to be up there. She's run 16:50. She ran 16:50 last week in the regional meet. The boys' side, I'm really, really impressed with Deerfield. I am. they're just running so well right now. They have a nice 3 through 5 pack. They have two guys, Cole Bernstein leads them, that we weren't talking about Deerfield a month ago at the beginning of September, or beginning of October, where we were thinking Fenwick and Morton, where they were within 2 points. But Deerfield is one of those teams. They haven't won a state championship in cross country since 1977. Those were pretty good teams. I loved watching those guys run. So we'll see what happens here. Grace Lake Central on the girls' side looked really good. They have everybody healthy, so they could challenge for a podium spot. But anything can happen at state, and especially when you have to go through a sectional like you have at Woodstock North. Too tired. And on the boys' side, Deerfield won pretty easily. They won by almost 90 points. And so I would keep an eye on the Warriors next week. What was the other one? At Decatur MacArthur. Alex Partlow, boy, what could he do? We know we're going to see a fast boys 1A race. If the conditions are right, and they're supposed to be right, you have so many great runners in the 1A race. But then you have Partlow, who's on a mission, and he's going to be challenged. He's going to be challenged by Georgia's. But Partlow ran 14:59 in the muck at Hickory Point Country Club in Decatur, and he wins by almost a minute. Are you kidding me? So Partlow's the guy that, let's see what he does. Let's see what he goes out in. Let's see. He's stronger now. You know, we saw him run 14:23 a month ago at Detweiler, and then he slowed down a little bit the second mile, and then he blew away in the third mile. Does he have that strength now to keep that pace up the second mile, and then anything goes in that final mile? We've seen that before. Josh Methner going through a 9:13, 2:06 at the half, 4:27 at the mile, and he sets the course record the last time we were there for state. Surprises. A little bit surprised that Cham Glenwood didn't make it on the boys' side. The girls' team looked really good. Boys, I think, got 10th. So I don't know what happened. I feel bad for them. On the girls' side, Cham Glenwood, Mount Zion, two good teams. Two teams that could be challenging for a trophy. But the same thing with Cham Glenwood. They have a solid first four, and then they have a gap between 4 and 5. They need to close that gap down a little bit. 1,000 points of light. Close the gap. Yeah, so who now I can't remember who. Oh yeah. Heitzig from Lincoln won the race, and I started looking through the results, and I don't see Zybert, Colleen Zybert of Rochester, and she got 24th. She didn't qualify individually, so disappointed because she would have, could have, should have. I'm not going to say anything else. Where she could have finished in all of that. I'm sure she will be ripping it up on the track in the fall. I hope, in the spring. I hope she is. Be looking forward to that. So that's 2A. Boy, we're at 25 minutes already. Luckily, this downloads quickly, so you'll get to see it a little bit quicker, and I get to talk a little bit more. So on the girls' side, on the boys' side, we talked about Partlow, but Muhammad Seymour, that's one of those sneaky teams that were ranked number 1 for a little bit early in the year. And just keep building and building, and they're going to be ready to go when we get to Detweiler. So I'd keep an eye on Muhammad Seymour too. So you have Muhammad Seymour, Deerfield, Fenwick, Morton, maybe Canelan. Canelan has a little bit of a gap there that I don't, against those other 3 teams, or other 4 teams, I don't see that happening. So interesting. High noon race on State Saturday, and So we'll see what happens there. Let's go to 1A. 5 sectionals. And I go through and I play a little game. I don't publish it. I don't, well, let's publish it. Let's see how we did. Let's see how good we did. Oh, yeah. I had 28 out of 30 in 1A girls. And I mean, boys was 27 out of 30 that were going to make it. So, Lyle, Latin School only won by 6. They beat DePaul by 16 at the regional meet. They only beat DePaul by 6, and one of the reasons why is DePaul's top 2 runners got in between Hardiman, who's the first runner for Latin School, and the pack with Gibson and Perec. That closed the gap a little bit more. And they were, I think, Latin School was 5 in the first 21. DePaul was 5 in the first 23. So Hardiman, that's going to be the key this week at State between those 2 teams. Hersher made it. Wheaton Academy ran a great race. They made it. Harvest Christian Academy surprised people. They made it. So Drew Rogers ran close to what he ran a month ago in the mud at Lyle. And he's been holding back. He hasn't run a Detweiler. There's so many good runners in 1A that could challenge him, that could push him, and we could see something real special. We'll just have to wait and see. He's put the efforts in, and knowing him, he's in the best shape of his life, and he's just going to go right at it. But there's other guys to push him. Let's go on. On the girls' side, Rosary, they're a team to keep an eye on for a trophy. Leanna Sertz and 1A girls individuals have turned upside down. We'll get more into that. And so Sertz won by about 14 seconds. Carly Manchester of IC Prep is a runner to watch in the top 10, top 5 next week. She finished second, and then there was a minute gap before third place. So Rosary wins pretty easily, 57 points. Wheaton Academy slid past IC Catholic Prep for second. IC Catholic Prep didn't have one of their top 5 runners, Kennedy Calcagno. So she was coming off an injury, and I can imagine that course at Lyle was muddy. Why runner if you know that your team is going to qualify? So Joliet Catholic made it. I can't remember who else. So Wheaton Academy obviously made it. At Oregon, Winnebago, what can we say? 22, it was like, what was it, 22 points to 123 or 113 or something crazy like that. They did the same thing last year where they freight trained the competition and they win by 100 points. They lapped the field. Oh my God, they lapped the field. They had 5 in the first 11. Grace Erb, individual champion there. She could be in contention for the state championship. But Winnebago looked really, really good. On the boys' side, there, Rockford Christian, what can we say? Nice first 3 runners up there. I was interested to see how close it was going to be, and I think it was within 20 points or less that Riverdale got to them. But Rockford Christian is in line to challenge for a trophy. I think 1A is one of those schools. I mean, I think you have 4 or 5 schools that could contend for a trophy or a state championship. And Rockford Christian getting those 3 guys up there and maybe getting those 4 or 5 guys to come along for the ride, like Daniel Watke said. Anything can happen there. Riverdale second. And then, hey, how about Brock Loftus of Amboy? He gets the win ahead of Tommy Murray from Riverdale. So Brock Loftus could do anything this weekend. It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I way down. I was just
thought was traveling through my mind, and I had to let it pass. It goes through easily through my head because I don't have a lot in there. So that's 2 regionals down. Let's talk about Elmwood. So that was one of those wow results, because I looked at the girls' results first, and I'm like, Louisa Wilson, I know her. She's been running good all year. She's only a freshman, and she wins by 25 seconds over Anna Perry. Now, I'm wondering if Anna, with the mud and everything else, Wilson got away, and she had a good buffer between second and third. I'm wondering if Anna let her go. But then you throw now you got to throw Wilson in the hat of individuals that could win that race. And so it's going to be interesting between those two schools, 2 runners. Eureka, team that can contend for a trophy. 52 points, I think, or somewhere in the 50s. And then Springfield, Sacred Heart Griffin was with 120, 130, something like that. But Perry, it's one of those things you look like, 25 seconds, what happened? And then you think about it, things that make you go,
that was easy.
Yeah, see. So anything can happen there. On the boys' side, Miles Shepard and Mudd runs 15:06 at Elmwood. That's pretty good. He's one of those guys. With Shepard and Genesio and Ryder James and Drew Rogers. There's just some filthy rich talent in that race. So Shepard wins easily. Hancock got 3rd in that race, and that was a little bit interesting. At Decatur St. Teresa, the races that went off before the 2A races, Kate Amari wins by about 30 seconds, 25 seconds in the girls' race for Urbana University. Monticello got 2nd behind Tolono Unity. Tolono Unity had a nice pack, and they're ready to go after. They could go after the Winnebago for the state championship at the Rosary. So let me go back. I just went back to Elmwood, and the team that ran real good was Normal University in 1A, where they had 3 guys together between 15, 16, 17, and then Mudial and Henderson in the top. Uhi looks good. And so let's see what they do at state. So I wanted to mention that. I'm going through my head. I'm like, wait a minute, I forgot something. I hate when that happens. I hate what happened. No, I'm just kidding. And the one thing, Unity has a nice pack. They'll be able to chase after Winnebago. Monticello, they still don't have Estella Miller, which kind of leads me to believe that she's either sick or she's injured. She won't be able to come back, and that's such a shame. She's only a junior, but nevertheless, when you're running so well during the year and then something happens. So Monticello has 3 runners up there with Bruin and Kuhn and Sylvia Miller, the freshman. They could put notice in there if they can get their 4th and 5th runners closer to the front. Their 4th and 5th are back right now. On the boys' side, Ryder James. He's running great right now. Really, people are like, I'm going to get down there just in time for the 2A races. No, get there earlier. Get there earlier for that 1A boys race. It's going to be lights out. On the team side and the boys, Atwood Hamwood. That's it. I only write Arthur Lovington in my recaps and all of that stuff. They beat St. Joe Ogden. St. Joe Ogden didn't run a great super race, and I'm sure they'll run great next week, but
5 runners in the first 33. Arthur Lovington had 4 in the first 16. Their 5th runner's been back all year. In this meet, it was 45th. So if Arthur Lovington has 4 all-staters, where does that guy, their 5th runner, have to come in? Interesting. On the Trenton Westland, this was the one that really that threw me off, because I looked at the results and I see Eric Homer. I think that's your name. I'm sorry if I screwed it up. From Polk County, wins the race, and I'm like, where's Elena Ryback, the freshman? She hasn't lost most of the year, and she got 17th. So I don't know if something happened. Again, I hope she's well. I hope she's ready to go for this week, because she could contend for a state championship. But her finishing 17th, I was expecting Ryback and Olivia Phillips to go in, and Phillips got 2nd in that race. DuQuoin, sneaky good. They won over Pinckneyville. On the boys' side, Benton and Pinckneyville went over. I can't talk anymore. You know what I mean. They went at it again. Benton winning. Their pack was a little bit farther back. Geneseo, he's going to be up there in that front pack in the 1A boys race. But Benton has been running a nice pack. It's a little bit farther back this time. Maybe it's because there were more runners in the race. I don't know. Pinckneyville's been running good. So that's it. Wow. Oh, I'm not going to talk about Hinsdale and assignments. I think that's something we can talk about after the season. If you're going to email the IHSA, email them after the season. But I'm not going to give you my opinion right now. I think everybody knows what my opinion is. No, you don't. Seriously, you don't. There's some things that were going on. I was getting emails going, well, if we did this, and if we did this, and we did this, it would have worked out fine. Well, all of you, some of the things that you've talked about did happen. So I can't leave it at that. What else? Don't tweet me things that you forgot this or you forgot this. Okay, I'll go down to 180th place. All right. I can't mention everybody's name, but I'm going to try to do that. That's what this show is for. I'll try to mention the good things that happened, the tough things that happened. This is the longest show in this new show. I think I went 60 minutes one time doing a state meet preview. And we're close to 40 minutes by this time this ends. This will be a fun upload. So everybody have a great week. Enjoy the moment. Oh, can you imagine if the colors are going to change in the trees at State? In 2019, it was so beautiful. I mean, I was there on Friday walking around. It's going to be a nice damn Friday and picnicking in the middle of Detweiler. I'm just going to sit there or maybe go to a picnic bench by the finish line, and I'll just eat there, have a sandwich, have a drink. Non-alcoholic. Sunkissed orange, Fanta orange, something like that. But it's going to be fun. This 1A boys, all 6 races are really, really interesting. There's, other than, it's interesting in 3A girls because you have York so far out ahead and just wondering if anybody's going to get close. So more interesting than ever, 3A boys is just anything is going to happen. Nobody's going to surprise me unless, I won't say that. So, what can I say? So that's it. Drive safely. Going down there. Enjoy the meet on Saturday. And we'll be back next Sunday. We'll talk about those 6 races. And then we'll look at a little bit ahead to, no, I don't know if we'll talk about Nike regionals. I don't know if we'll have time. I don't know if you want to listen to me for 40 minutes again. So, That's it. So, everybody have a great week. Enjoy the moment. Realize your dreams. This is Mike Newman from ILXCTF. Have a great week. See you down at Detweiler this weekend. Woohoo! Bye-bye.